Hey guys, um, got this up and running, and this is the part where I intend to say something really witty that relates to the rest of the video, just so that we can do like a cold open for each of the streams that I'm going to be running, and then we're going to go into the intro card. And that's not that bad of an intro card. It's really short, and then we go into me sharing what I'm going to be sharing on my screen so that we can do some of this critiquing the internet together because, you know, people are wrong on the internet and we've got to face that. So, got nobody watching, nobody in the chat, but that's okay. Um, oh, I got one viewer now. Awesome. Uh, So I've been talking a lot about statistics from different places that I've gathered in uh, the last few weeks, and I have not been showing my numbers, you know. And I think it's better to show where I've gotten the numbers from, all my sources and whatnot, rather than just, keep popping off like uh, just a talking head. Proctor Hawk says, I ain't nobody. Yeah, I'm sad that you weren't here earlier, Proctor, because I was setting up OBS so I could do these kind of streams, and I needed more people who could speak on my Discord chat so that I could have some good conversations here on YouTube. But I still don't have that all that set up because YouTube, in their infinite wisdom, they decided to strip us of the Google Hangouts. That I got really complacent with being able to use that and nothing else. And so it's been like a year since I've used OBS. I wasn't really good at it while I had it. And they updated both YouTube's uh, interface and they've also updated OBS. So the code that I used, the CSS code that I used for putting people into my video so that their comments would never be uh, lost if the YouTube video went down for whatever reason. Their comments would be stuck in the video, on the bottom. So if you can see right there, there is let's see, no, right over there. Okay, there's this big empty blackness that I don't even have to have there, right? I could just um, I could stretch this to like the whole screen, right? I don't want to, but I could, right? Uh, let me resize that again. Anyways, I used to have people's chats in right there, and now that's not working, and I don't know how to fix it. But moving on, um, I'll try to get that set up in the way that I wanted it. Hi, Gwen. Thanks for saying hello. Um, so, getting back to the points that I've been making in recent videos, the political points. I had shared this map with you. Now, this map is from a couple days ago, right? This is not current. This is the map that I shared a couple of streams ago where I said that Republicans were going to die in greater numbers than Democrats because Democrats have the social distancing of stay-at-home orders. And if you look at this, this really does look like the political map of the 2016 election that got Trump elected. Basically, the more populous places go Democrat, and the more land you have in between people, the more Republican these places are, right? So, the pink ones here are the ones with partial uh, stay-at-home orders, like certain counties, certain parts of the state. The white ones are the ones with no stay-at-home orders, right? And that was right there. That was Las Vegas in Nevada had no stay-at-home order on it just a couple days ago. Florida was only partial. Now, there's an update to this story, and that is that if you go to this Domo coronavirus COVID-19 tracker, and you scroll all the way down to here, you can see that Nevada now has a full stay-at-home order, and so does Florida, right? Gwen says, I'm a liberal living in North Carolina. Am I going to die? LOL. Well, see, here's South Carolina only has a partial stay-at-home order, and here's Alabama only has a partial. So those two states on the East Coast, right there, are pretty screwed, right? The rest of them have gone to full stay-at-home orders. Now, the ones that are really concerning me right now is Arkansas right here. You know, Alabama does concern me a lot, but Arkansas, that is a very strange thing that they don't have any stay-at-home orders, not in any part of the state. Uh, Here we have Iowa, nothing, no stay-at-home orders. Nebraska, South Dakota, and North Dakota. Now, South and North Dakota, I'm not as worried about because even if you were to look at a map of, say, Greyhound bus routes, they don't go through the Dakotas, right? This is very not densely populated land, and the reservations where the Indians that live in that land uh, have their own governments. They've locked down their own tribes, their own reservations, right? Same thing with Arizona. They didn't used to have a full lockdown over Utah and Arizona area right here. Arizona came in, did their full stay-at-home order, and now we have Utah still only has partial, right? And right here in the Four Corners area, you've got a lot of Navajo who have already locked down because they understand that the U.S. government is going to lie to them, and white man has horrible diseases. So I'm not worried about these Dakotas so much up here not having stay-at-home orders, but Nebraska, Iowa, and Arkansas freak me out. Um, Texas really freaks me out. How the state of Texas does not have a stay-at-home order coming from the governor to this day. It is now it's April 4th because we just crossed midnight. To this day, they still don't have a stay-at-home order from their governor because he's playing that game of trying to keep as much of his economy up and running as he possibly can until a certain threshold of people start dying, and then we'll close the economy. Then we'll go stay at home, but not until people start dying. Because business is important. You know, those people that are essential in Texas, they might as well just label themselves expendable. You know. Anyways, Florida finally, uh, yesterday put in their stay-at-home orders, and then Georgia did as well. Now, when Georgia did it, their governor said, "Well, the reason why we're doing it now." See, Georgia's right here. They were partial. So Georgia said the reason why we're doing it right now is because we just learned that this is communicable even when you're not showing symptoms. And I was like, this is what everyone's been talking about for like months. This is like criminally negligent behavior on the part of a governor to not have known that, to not have paid attention to anything in the news enough to understand that this is communicable before you're showing symptoms in the 2 weeks before you could show symptoms after it incubates in you, you could still be passing it on to other people. Like, for him to not know that, that's the scary thing about this. This is why it is a pandemic. For him to not know that and pretend like they just now learned it yesterday, oh my goodness, that pissed me off. It really did. Because people are going to die. In the next 2 weeks, you're going to see a bunch of people die in Georgia, and that's going to be the responsibility of that governor who was that dumb. Right? So there is the argument against what I'm saying that says because those Republicans live in less dense areas, like Terrence Hypnonipple is saying in my chat right there, that they're going to survive better just because they have distancing from each other. But because they're going to be social and cordial to each other and go to places where everybody else is going, they're going to catch it from each other because they're not doing social distancing. Okay? Just because they have a little bit more land doesn't mean that they're not going to try to attend church and go see hundreds of people all at the same time and say, "Oh yeah, those stupid Democrats are locking down the rest of the country, ruining our economy, you know, and it's because they don't have faith in the Jesus to pull us through this. That's why they're dying and we're not." And then they're all going to get it and they're all going to die. So, in states that do have stay at home orders, uh, there have been churches that have gone against those stay at home orders, and those pastors that have gone against that, the church leaders that have gone against that, have been charged with crimes, right? And some of them I've seen that were made examples of have actually told their congregation that if they walked through the doors of the church, they will be healed. And if they had coronavirus on them, it would be cleansed from them because of walking into their church. I'm not shitting you, I've seen this. So, I don't think that they're safe at all. And in the end, it will be their attitude of uh, being against the authoritative rule of the government that will be their undoing. You know, and they will die because of this political fight, the way that we've had it over the years, getting to this point where they're so entrenched that they cannot believe anything from scientists. They cannot believe that their way of life will finally have to change because of something, right? Um, it's sad, and I don't want these people to have to die for their political convictions, but that's how bad it is. People are like, "Oh no, the Democrats just want to shut down the whole country so that it makes Donald Trump look bad. So we're going to keep it up and running. We're willing to send our grandparents to die if it comes to that. You know, they're willing to die. You should have asked them first before you started shutting down the country because we don't want uh, to live like this. You know, we don't want your help." that's the kind of uh, that's the kind of mindset that's going to get them killed. Gwen wants to know, do y'all think going to Walmart is a reckless decision? Uh, Misty, who's downstairs right now, has not wanted me to go to Walmart for weeks. And when things do come into the house, she does disinfect things that come in the house. We follow a little protocol with that. But also, I will say yes, it's a reckless decision because there are people let in a way where they say, well, if we were allowing 600 people in the store before, we could cut that down to 150, and then they'll have enough room to social distance from each other. But people are still going to brush their carts right by you in the aisles, right? You're supposed to stay away from other people, right? It's just not smart. Now, ordering things from the same person who goes door to door delivering food to everybody else, also not smart. So you have to be careful either way. So what I'm saying is, we've got a grocery list that's growing on our fridge of things that we want. And when it gets to the bottom of the page, then we're going to go out shopping, get exactly what we need if it's there, put it in the cart, buy things as fast as we can, get in, get out. You know, minimize your risk. It is risky. Everything you do outside of your house now has risk attached to it, right? Just try to minimize that risk as much as you can. So, now that I've shown you guys where I'm getting some of my information, this one is domo.com's coronavirus tracking. This one that I was using before was a article on Tech Republic, right? That I was using that map. This is the old one. This is the one that's no good anymore that I used in that previous video. This one's updated daily. Now it's 47 states. It says have orders, even though their map isn't showing that because we have 50 states and there are 5 of them not with orders. So maybe 2 of these need to be updated. I don't know, but they're too late to the game now. You know, it's still good to put the orders in, but holy shit, you are very late to the game if you're just now understanding this threat. So every day that Texas waits to do a full stay-at-home order, the deaths that are increased because of their waiting is on their governor. And I will flat out say that right now. He is responsible for those deaths and should be criminally charged. I mean, it's so obvious what he needs to do, and he's not going to do it. I mean, this is not. Now that we have a million people have the virus, and how many people have died? Okay, let's go to this. This is the Johns Hopkins coronavirus tracker. I'm hitting refresh on it. These are the latest and greatest numbers, right? You got 1,100,000 have the virus. 1,100,000. Let me cancel this out. You've got 58, almost 59,000 people have died. Probably 59,000 have by the time, uh, you know, I get to the end of this calculation. So 59,000 divided by this many known cases. All right. And that equals a 5.3% death rate on the known cases, right? The confirmed cases. World Health Organization was saying, oh, it's going to be about 3.4%, you know. But confirmed cases wise, I'm seeing 5.3 worldwide. Now, there is a difference between real cases that are out there beyond the confirmed cases, right? Yes, Gwen, I just did the math for you right there. You take the total deaths and divide that by the total confirmed cases. Now the total deaths is a lot closer to real than the total confirmed, right? Because when people die, we kind of know about it. You know, that's something that is concrete. Now, total confirmed is a little off because our testing has lagged, and some people have wanted to get a test and couldn't get tested. Right. So, if we just go to the U.S. percentages right here, the U.S. percentages, I've been watching them climb, right? And so, what I've learned is this lags by about 2 weeks to where you get a steady, consistent death rate going on. So if we take the 7,157 cases that have been declared as of April 3rd and divide that by the 277,965 cases that we have confirmed, you have about a 2.5% death rate so far. Now, in all of these cities that are listed here, I can tell you that there are people on respirators that are going to die because the longer you're on a respirator, the more likely you are to die. Right? All of these cities that already have deaths in them, you're going to find people on respirators that are on death's doorstep. So the case fatality rate (CFR) that you'll find on other websites is not set in stone yet. This 2.5% will rise as you find out the real case fatality rate of, each window of when people had the virus. Right? Proctor is saying this government is not going to fix this. It's a personal responsibility issue. The most government can do is try to not screw up getting resources to hospitals. Okay, I'll give you that. But here's the thing: the people who usually are the most responsible for their own well-being, the people who are most self-reliant and resilient, are usually the Republicans. Okay? The people who can do for themselves and would find it easier to isolate themselves from other people because they're living in less dense areas, right? And yet, their total hatred of Democrats and believing that this is a conspiracy to shut down the whole country so that Donald Trump doesn't get elected will get them killed. Even though with another situation where we had a tangible enemy that was outside of the country without this kind of conspiracy theory, or if there was a Democrat in office that was about to lose badly in the next election if the economy got shut down, in those cases, they absolutely would be safer. You know, it's their attitude towards government and their attitude towards the opposition political party that's going to get them killed. All right. Dirty D is explaining in the chat that while she is not personally uh, at risk, a lot of the people that she would run into in her life are. And that's the thing. Uh, I have a therapist, and he's like in his 80s. I shit you not, he is old. And I thought about it. I was like, do I even want to keep talking to this guy if I'm going to end up killing my own therapist? Because here I am, a counselor, helping people out by flapping my yap, and then I could be the person that kills my own counselor. That, beyond it not being a good look, that would sit with me for the rest of my fucking life. Like, holy shit, I'm the counselor that killed his own counselor. So, after I had that thought, 2 days before uh, my session with him, which happened like 3 weeks ago, I think, he called me and said, "Hey, I'm going telehealth. I'm just going to make phone calls." Now, the guy can't use Zoom. He's not of our generation. But he's been making phone calls to me, and every week I've been talking to him for an hour. And I am so happy that I have no risk of killing him because he's making phone calls. So happy that he's taking all this shit seriously. Anyways, so if we go to Italy right here, this is the scary shit, right? Now, what I'm calculating here, this death rate of the total deaths versus the total confirmed, this is not an accurate case fatality rate. It's going to be approximate, but not accurate. But when I take their 14,681 deaths and divide it by their 119,827 confirmed cases, I come up with a 12% death rate. Partially in Italy, it's because they're older. They have an older population. Partially, it's because only the people who are severely sick have gotten tests. They didn't have enough tests in their country. So that kind of skews the numbers. But I don't think it skews the numbers by that great of a percentage. I absolutely believe that their total death rate is well over 5%, probably approaching 10, right? And so when I say the World Health Organization's numbers are off, they were off originally. First they were like 1%, then they were like 2%, then they settled on like 3.4% death rate. Guys, this shit, the math is right there for you to have. This is Johns Hopkins website. I did the simple math. I plugged it into a calculator right there for you. And the only difference that I can tell you is uh, testing. Now in Spain today, we've got, let's click on Spain, 11,000 deaths, right? 11,198. We're going to divide that by their, oh, they've got almost the same amount as Italy as far as confirmed cases. 119,199. And we're going to hit enter. They're at about a 9.3% death rate, and they did not report near the lack of having test kits that Italy did initially, right? Their age demographics are similar, and the only thing that they have different from Italy is their villages are scared to death of Spain becoming Italy. And even so, they've already gotten almost as many deaths. They're catching up to Italy. Even though I know that there are villages that are locked down. And I've been hearing stories directly from people in Spain. Okay, working on my Spanish. It's not that good. But when we're talking about percento, yes, 9.3% right now. Nerdy says that she feels morbid as fuck for thinking it, but she kind of wants the Red States to party hardy. Okay. Um, I was pissed off because Post Malone had a concert at the Pepsi Center after all the NFL games had already been canceled for good reasons, and the reasons why were already out there in the public, why you shouldn't have a gathering that big. And Post Malone had a concert at the Pepsi Center. So I was actually thinking the same thing. Well, hopefully, the people who are Post Malone fans who think that that's real music will change their tune. Anyways, that is morbid and dark humor. Ellen said, "Who is Post Malone?" Well, imagine if you put tattoos on your face and that meant that you had left normal society, and people took that as a sign of, "Oh wow, you must be really serious about your music. Your music must matter." And Nerdy saying, "Don't search him ever." Um, anyways, also Nerdy, I've also had the thought that there's a lot of people who are going to put it the best way I can, place their homes back on the market because they won't be using them anymore, and that's going to compound a housing market crisis that we're going to have. And on top of that, all the people who are not renting their Airbnbs that they bought just for the purpose of renting are going to throw those homes back onto the housing market to try to get as much of their investment back from that, because nobody's going to be going on vacation anywhere for a very long time. So all of those homes are about to hit the housing market, and it's like a perfect storm of it's going to be a buyer's market in just a couple months. And I have been wanting the housing market prices to crash for so long, and I'm ready to pounce. You know, yes, Nerdy, I've been telling people that this housing market is in a bubble because, you know, people can't afford with their stagnant wages to see the price of a house quadruple in just a couple years. That shit is untenable. Gwen says this is Agenda 21. I don't think it is, but I don't really know the full Agenda 21 stuff. But some of the outcomes that I have heard from that kind of stuff of population control, they're going to happen. You know. Uh, so, anyways, the death rate in Spain is also complicated because of something that I told you guys on my previous stream, that I do know of cases where people over 65 in Spain have been turned away from hospitals, and when they die, uh, the healthcare workers that go retrieve the bodies then do a code for them in the ICD-10 coding that is for multiple organ failure, right? And so they call these people's deaths multiple organ failure instead of calling them coronavirus COVID-19 deaths. Um, they're doing this to keep their numbers lower than the astronomical numbers that they already have. You know, It's already really bad, but they, for some reason, have made this decision to triage anyone over 65 has to just give up. You're not getting help at a hospital in Spain. And you go home, and when you die, you don't get counted in the death toll. Just like here in America, if there's a boat out at sea, be it a Princess cruise ship or a naval vessel that has people dying on it with 100 cases right the fuck now, as long as they keep them out at sea, they don't count against our death total. And at this point, uh, a whole boatload of sailors being infected is not going to make a dent in the fact that we have more than 1,000 people dying every fucking day from this disease now. And every 3 days, it's like another fucking 9/11 in our own country. But right now, worldwide, we just had two 9/11s worth of people die in one day from this virus. Gwen says, please read I'm Politico Ways Corona Will Change the World. On Politico.com, I will try to read that when I get a chance. Um, Proctor Hawk says, if this wipes out 5% of the US, it's about 16,300,000 ish. Okay, that is the simple number of if everyone, like period, everyone contracts this. In California, they projected that only 50% of their people would catch it if they did nothing. If you were taking like 75% transmission and then the other 25% for whatever reason don't get it. Maybe they're sequestered at home. Maybe their immune system is just so good that it fights it off initially. Maybe they don't come into contact with enough people who are sick when they are sick. The introverts of our country. Then your 5% isn't the total of the entire population, right? So I might be wrong, and when I'm looking at Thunderfoot's daily numbers, which have changed dramatically, I might still be very wrong. But I said by the end of the year, we would have 1 to 2 million people dead of coronavirus in the U.S. That was my projection. Now they're saying between 100,000 and 240,000 with the government numbers that are coming out of Trump's mouth, which have been very conservative from the day he said, "Oh, we've got 15 cases and soon we'll have just zero." I'm not too worried about it. You know, he's been downplaying this as much as he can for like the entire way that he's been handling this, right? So let's see. I don't think you guys are seeing my calculator when I pull out my calculator. That's interesting. Okay, I'm gonna have to add my calculator to the things that you guys get to see, um, because you're not seeing my calculator when it's over there. That is so weird. Um, but hopefully you're following my numbers. Let's see. The next thing I want to show you guys, as far as where I'm getting my numbers, is ourworldindata.org, and It's all the way down all of this stuff right here. I've been refreshing this every morning about as much as I've been refreshing the Johns Hopkins website just to watch the numbers grow. Because I do take some time out of my day every day to try not to dwell on this and just live my life. But the rate of spread right here, uh, how long does it take for the total number of deaths to double? Just 2 days ago, we were in the every 3 days it's going to double range, right? And the UK right now is every 3 days it doubles, right? And that shows this kind of logarithmic growth right here that a lot of countries are seeing. But you can see our curve is very, very sharp as far as this heading up to the total. Now, the reported dead we had yesterday was 915. I'm expecting a giant jump uh, for the April 4th numbers because we had the same thing happen on March 3rd. There was a drop from 484 to 318 total more dead, and then it jumped to 661. And I think what happens is it really does matter how fast paperwork travels to the appropriate places where people are declared dead. And there's been little spikes in some countries that happen just because it's the weekend. Like over Sunday, there's less people working. So I've seen little spikes like that where I could explain it by it being Sunday, but then I could also see spikes in other countries' data that like don't even have anything to do with any day of the week that I can tell is different. Um, when countries first start off, though, uh, like Turkey is doubling every 3 days. When the numbers are smaller, you know, when once you start to see this initial spike, you get to countries like Ecuador. Okay, here's Saudi Arabia. They only have 45 deaths total anyway, but you see these 3 days right here where they had this many deaths happen really quickly. They've gotten to the point where they've doubled every 2 days. So their growth looks worse. So the longer a country has cases, the as long as they're getting under control with their spread rate, the length of time that it takes to double should get longer. Now, for China, they said uh, they have been controlling their rate of deaths for the last 48 days to where it's a pretty good control that they have. In South Korea, it's doubled in the last 16 days, the total number of dead. And here in Japan, 15 days, right? And when you see, instead of this kind of curve that you're seeing in the Philippines right here, and that you see in America, when you see it being linear like this, that's still controlling the rate of spread. You know, that shows a little bit of control. Now China's number or China's level right here, that flat right there on their total, that's almost total control. But even then, you can see uh, not where my mouse is, but where the just the deaths per day that's to the right of that. You can see that a few deaths bubble up each and every day, right? When this first started around Christmas time of 2019, it was just a few deaths happening, right? The minute that you let go of this lockdown, it's going to start spreading just like it did before until you get zero deaths for an extended amount of time. And so that's what I've been trying to impress upon people is like, this shit has just changed our lives. And when I compare it to 9/11, I say we've had two 9/11s worth of deaths today. I mean, it's going to change your life like there is multiple planes falling out of the sky every fucking day for the next 2 or 3 months. Oh, Alan says it doesn't say how many of them were killed by the government with a big smile. And Proctor says he doesn't believe any of the numbers coming out of China. Um, I believe that they lied about the severity to the World Health Organization. And I think that that's pretty well known, right? But if you look at their initial numbers of how it spread and what they had to do to get it under control, with their authoritarian regime clamping down on everything, um, it's more believable, especially with their initial spread rate matching other countries pretty consistently. Everyone's chart looks like that. So, another way of looking at this that I've only been using the Domo website for a while now, for a couple days, but they've been running for a while. I just didn't find them before. These are all the other countries, right? And the growth of the virus in their countries. This one right here, the top one that I'm mousing over, that is the rate of growth in the U.S. Now, each one of these countries, either from their own lockdowns or from just the virus burning its way through to the point where it doesn't do the same, their growth rate tends to flatten out. The U.S. rate has not flattened yet. And given time in the next 2 weeks, all of those Republican states that did not put stay at home orders down when it was very controllable, they're going to be the reason why this line does not flatten out like it should have. So, um, I thank you guys for watching. And tomorrow, I think I'm going to maybe be on a different topic that I'll be sharing here in the same way, because I do want. I feel like it's important to call out the the Voldemort Mufasa big pink elephant in the room and talk about it and say the word coronavirus and say COVID-19, because it's what's changing our lives. But I also feel like we do need to have a little bit of regular entertainment and a little bit of a return to normalcy. Just like all of the talk show hosts that are now doing their talk shows without laugh tracks, or professional wrestling doing their shows without crowds. I think that's important too. So whatever's on my mind that day, be it coronavirus or something else, I'll bring it to you guys. We'll do this stream, and maybe I'll get maybe I'll get this technology down to the point where I'll be able to, instead of just doing a couple of camera switches for you guys, I'll be able to add some people uh, as far as having live chats and have some good discussions. Also, tomorrow at around 5 p.m. Mountain Time, which is whatever time you are, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, On the Breakfast Club channel, there will be a reuniting of all the people who have been Breakfast Club uh, hosts that want to go talk there for the day. So it should be a good initial stream, and I think they're going to try to bring back that channel a lot more since we've got people needing to see some normalcy and people at each other's throats in debates. So yeah, be sure to check out the Breakfast Club channel. Look at Got That Funk's video on that, and everybody take care.